Do you know that there is an island that is so isolated that there are no maps, no surveys, no records of its flora and fauna? There are even no radio signals, no internet, no electricity, no phones, and no signs of civilization. There is only silence, mystery, and fear. This is the reality of North Sentinel Island. What makes this island one of the most isolated and mysterious places on Earth, and why is it so dangerous to visit it? Let's find out. North Sentinel Island is part of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, an archipelago of more than 500 islands in the Bay of Bengal, belonging to India. The islands are known for their diverse and rich wildlife, coral reefs, and tropical forests. They are also home to several indigenous tribes, some of whom have lived there for thousands of years, with little or no contact with the outside world. One of these tribes is the Jarawa, who have recently started to interact with outsiders after decades of resistance and hostility. But there is one island that stands out from the rest. It is the smallest, the most remote, and the most mysterious. It is North Sentinel Island, located about 50 kilometers west of the main Andaman Island. It is about the size of Manhattan, but with a population of only a few hundred people. It is the last bastion of an ancient and unknown culture that has survived for millennia without any influence from the modern world. North Sentinel is a volcanic island covered by dense rainforest. It is surrounded by a ring of coral reefs that make it difficult to approach by boat. The island has no natural harbors, and the coast is mostly rocky and steep. The only way to land on the island is by swimming or wading through the shallow water, but that is not a wise idea. The island is guarded by its inhabitants, who are ready to attack any intruder with bows and arrows. The island is also protected by law. India has declared it a tribal reserve and banned any visitation or interference with the islanders. Anyone who tries to go there faces legal action and possible death. The island is off-limits, for the sake of the islanders and for the sake of the world. The islanders are known as the Sentinelese. They are believed to be descendants of the first humans who migrated out of Africa more than 60,000 years ago. They have lived on the island for at least 15,000 years and have developed their own language, culture, and way of life. The Sentinelese are hunter-gatherers and foragers who live in small groups of 10 to 15 people in huts made of leaves and branches. They use stone tools, wooden spears, and bows and arrows to hunt animals, fish, and birds. They wear little or no clothing and adorn themselves with necklaces, bracelets, and headbands made of shells, bones, and teeth. They have dark skin, curly hair, and robust physique. They are fiercely territorial and hostile to any outsiders who approach their island. The first recorded encounter with the Sentinelese was in 1867, when an Indian merchant vessel, the Nineveh, was wrecked on the island's reef. The crew of 106 men managed to escape to the shore, but were soon attacked by the islanders, who shot arrows and threw stones at them. The crew fought back with sticks and knives and managed to survive for several days, until they were rescued by a Royal Navy ship. The next encounter was in 1880, when a British naval officer, Maurice Portman, decided to visit the island as part of his survey of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. He landed on the island with a large party of armed men and found the island deserted. He assumed that the islanders had fled into the forest and proceeded to explore the island. He found several huts, graves, and artifacts, but no sign of the people. He then decided to kidnap some of the islanders to study them and establish contact. He captured 6 people, an elderly couple and 4 children, and took them to Port Blair, the capital of the Andaman Islands. However, the captives soon fell ill, and the elderly couple died. Portman realized his mistake and returned the children to the island, with some gifts. He hoped that this would create a friendly relationship with the islanders, but he was wrong. The islanders remained hostile and never forgave him for his intrusion. The next incidents involved shipwrecks that showed the dangers of the island. In 1977, a cargo ship, the Primrose, ran aground on the island's reef during a storm. The crew of 28 men radioed for help, but were stranded for a week before they could be rescued by a helicopter. During that time, they saw the islanders on the shore, building boats and preparing to attack them. The crew tried to scare them off by firing flares and warning shots, but the islanders were undeterred. They only backed off when the crew's dog, a large Newfoundland, started barking at them. In 1981, a fishing boat, the MV Russley, also got stuck on the island's reef and faced a similar situation. The crew of 4 men was attacked by the islanders, who then looted the boat and took away anything they could find. In 2004, a massive earthquake and tsunami hit the Indian Ocean and affected the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Many wondered what happened to the Sentinelese and whether they survived the catastrophe. A few days after the tsunami, an Indian helicopter flew over the island to check on the islanders. The helicopter saw no signs of damage or destruction and spotted several islanders on the beach. However, the earthquake and tsunami did have an impact on the island in terms of its geography. The tectonic shifts caused by the earthquake raised the island by about 1 to 2 meters and exposed more of the coral reef. This also changed the shape and depth of the surrounding seabed and created new sandbars and lagoons. These changes were visible on satellite images taken before and after the tsunami. The changes also affected the island's ecology and possibly its resources. Some experts speculated that the islanders might have to adapt to the new environment and find new sources of food and water. The most recent and controversial encounter with the Sentinelese was in 2018, when a young American man, John Allen Chow, decided to visit the island as part of his missionary work. Chow was a devout Christian who had a passion for adventure and exploration. He had traveled to several countries and had interacted with various indigenous tribes, such as the Waodani in Ecuador and the Kui in India. He had a fascination with North Sentinel Island and had a dream of converting the islanders to Christianity. Chow had prepared for his mission for several years and had learned some of the languages spoken in the Andaman Islands, such as Hindi, Bengali, and Jarawa. He had also studied the history and culture of the Sentinelese and had read books and articles about them. He had also contacted some fishermen and middlemen who agreed to help him reach the island, despite the legal prohibition. Chow's expedition began on November 14, 2018, when he arrived at Port Blair and met with the fishermen and middlemen, who had arranged a boat and some supplies. The Sentinelese already knew that he was there. They were chanting and shouting at him as he arrived. He tried to talk to them in English, but they drew their arrows, making Chow panic and run away as fast as he could. He then showed up the next day and handed over all of his gifts to the people, and before he even knew it, a young boy had drawn an arrow into his bow. Chow started to worry and began to read from the Bible when an arrow was shot into the Bible, leaving Chow unharmed. Another arrow then pierced through his chest. Chow still managed to retreat and swim back to the boat he came from safely. However, the next morning he handed all of his belongings over to the fishermen and jumped back into the water towards the island. Fishermen returned to the island the next morning in search of any signs of Chow, and that is when they realized something lying on the beach, which they later identified as Chow. Chow's death sparked a lot of debate and controversy, both in India and around the world. The authorities decided not to pursue any legal action against the islanders as they were acting in self-defense and were unaware of the laws and norms of the outside world. They also decided not to recover Chow's body, as it would be too risky and disrespectful, both to the islanders and to Chow himself. They reiterated the ban on visiting the island and warned anyone from attempting to do so. The moral dilemmas, however, remained unresolved. Some people praised Chow for his courage and faith and saw him as a martyr and a role model. They believed that he was following God's will and that he died for a noble cause. Others criticized Chow for his arrogance and ignorance and saw him as a fool and a troublemaker. They believed that he was violating the islanders' rights and that he endangered their lives and culture. In conclusion, visiting this island will end in death, but it is also important to give these people privacy if they are not willing to open themselves to the outside world. Do you think Chow had the right to visit the island and try to convert the islanders? Or did he violate their sovereignty and privacy? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe for more content like this.